Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely pleased to have this opportunity to address you at the Chatham House today as part of my first ever visit to London and the United Kingdom. As you all know, the histories of our two nations have been intertwined for over 2 centuries. In the years that follow independence, we have had periods of good relations, as well as more recently periods of difficult relations as well. I'm confident, however, that we are now turning a new page, that we are entering a new era of close Anglo-Myanmar relations, and that Myanmar and the United Kingdom will not only be able to work together to the benefit of both countries, but will be able to partner across a range of international challenges. And in moving towards a new and long-lasting partnership, we will be able to build on the very deep connection that actually already bind us together, even during the colonial era. And despite the evils of colonialism, many friendships were formed between Myanmar and the British people, and many individuals bridged our two cultures. And in our history, we have dozens of great men and women who studied in England and then came back to serve their countries, including as leaders of the nationalist movement and as prime ministers and presidents. We must be sensitive to our past, but acknowledge that our ties run deep. We have a shared heritage, a shared past, and a familiarity with one another that we must use as an asset. A distinguished guest, I speak to you at the pivotal moment in the history of Myanmar. My government came to office in April 2011, and over the past 2.5 years, we have embarked on a transformation that I believe is unparalleled in modern times. It is a multifaceted transformation that, to be successful, must be successful in all parts. Anyone who visits Myanmar today will see the great energy that has been thrown up by the transformation of competing ideas and robust debates. This is because all Myanmar people know that we cannot allow this transformation to fail. The first component of our transformation is political. We have a new constitution. We have had elections and by-elections. Media censorship and restrictions on the internet have ended. New laws protect the freedom of association and expressions. Thousands of prisoners have been free. A special committee, comprised in parts of former prisoners, is working diligently to ensure that no one remains in prison due to his or her political beliefs or action. We are reviewing all cases. I guarantee to you that by the end of this year, there will be no prisoners of conscience in Myanmar. We are aiming for nothing less than a transition from half a century of military rule and authoritarianism to democracy. I believe you understand well that this is no easy thing. We see elsewhere the dangers of any sudden political shift where institutions are unable to cope and where the habits of democracy are not yet ingrained, the danger of violence and anarchy. We must manage this transition in a way that moves fast but prudently, grounded on our own realities. Democracy cannot just be about elections, basic freedoms, and constitutions. It must also include a culture of democracy and a new understanding of citizenship. We cannot be under any illusion that this is not a difficult thing, but I am confident that we will succeed. We must succeed as well in the second component of our transformation, that is, moving from a state-centered and isolated economy to one that is based on the free market principles and is integrated into world markets. Myanmar is a country of tremendous natural resources. We occupy an envious location at the crossroad of Asia between China and India and the other countries of Southeast Asia. We all know the potential is there. The task of lifting thousands of millions of ordinary people out of poverty cannot take a back seat to any other task. We must free our markets and open the doors to foreign trade and investment, but in a way that ensures that poverty is reduced and that the ordinary farmers and workers clearly benefit. We will fight against corruption and we will fight to protect and conserve our environment. We have taken key steps in this direction. We have abolished our old currency exchange regime, restructured our international debt, worked hard to end economic sanctions, changed our investment laws and policies, and focus on rapidly improving key public goods, services, including the provision of electricity and telecommunications. We are eager to become a signatory to the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, or EITI, to ensure maximum transparency as well as work to attract new investment and develop our natural resources. We wish to avoid the so-called resource curse and make sure that revenues from our natural wealth is used to reduce poverty, not fuel corruption. The challenges are tremendous. Example, land ownership issues, for example, are extremely complex. As part of our drive to foster growth for all the people of Myanmar, we will develop clear, fair, and open land policy. The provision of basic health care, education, and financial services remain far from satisfactory. Sectors such as tourism, that will likely grow quickly, must be well managed so that we can avoid the negative consequences of mass tourism seen elsewhere. And we have as well the new and pressing challenges of urbanization and urban planning, with our cities projected to grow by 10 million people by the year 2030. Yangon, our biggest city, must become a driver of economic growth, not a drag on development. I would like Yangon to be a city that can compete with any other in the region that is modern and green, that works for its ordinary citizens, and that protects its unique building heritage. We are very grateful for the aid that the UK government and the United Kingdom charities have provided others over the years and continue to provide. But let me say this. We have no desire to become an aid-dependent country. We need assistance now, especially in training and education during this period of transition, in order that we must stand on our feet. But what needs most is responsible trade and investment to grow our economy, create jobs, and lift our people from poverty. Investment that will transfer technology and will help us join in the economic success of the region and give our children the same opportunity as the rest of the Asia. Distinguished guests, we have as well our third and perhaps most important transformation from armed conflict to a just and sustainable peace. There has been armed fighting in Myanmar since just months after independence from the United Kingdom in 1948. It is the longest-running set of armed conflicts anywhere in the world. Since the day Arnold Toynbee was director of Chatham House, we have been fighting in Myanmar. This must end, and it will end. My government has been working tirelessly for peace. This too is not an easy thing. The remaining conflicts all have an ethnic character and are rooted in long-standing ethnic grievance and aspirations. And in Myanmar, there is not just one non-state armed group, but more than a dozen. Please imagine the complexity of any peace process, then multiply it by 12. There are issues of autonomy and self-determination, of power sharing and resource sharing, of cultural rights and language policy, of protection against discrimination, and security sector reforms. Myanmar government is willing to engage with international community to enhance security cooperation. It is our keen desire to foster greater ties between the Myanmar and the United Kingdom Armed Forces. Under the current transition, Myanmar will enshrine its cooperation with international community not only to strengthen its internal security institution, but also to actively involve in international security. Enhancing technical capability in ceasefire implementation will be helpful to enhance the current peace process. The current transition to democracy from military rules requires adjustment from security sectors, including from Tamador or the armed forces. The government welcomes international assistance to strengthen civil-military relations in Myanmar. This is crucial for the success of the political transition underway. I am very proud to say that we have not only over the past 2 years signed ceasefire with all, but one of the major armed groups, but also that last month we have signed an initial agreement with the last remaining armed groups, the Kachin Independence Organization. I believe we'll turn a corner soon. Very possibly, over the coming weeks, we will have a nationwide ceasefire and the guns will go silent everywhere in Myanmar for the very first time in over 60 years. This will be a watershed worth celebrating. But it will also be only the first step towards the just and lasting peace we will need to achieve. Difficult talks will follow and hard compromises will need to be made, but it must be done. And our peace process to be successful, it must be connected to the emergence of a more and inclusive national identity. Myanmar, people of all ethnic backgrounds and all faiths, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and others, must free part of this new national identity. We are a multicultural, multi-faith nation. The Myanmar people speak dozens of languages and include all the great world religion. The recent communal violence has recently concerned the world. I promise you that we will take a zero tolerance approach to any renewed violence and against those who fuel ethnic hatreds. You know that in any transition towards political openness, there are those who will take advantage and stir up troubles. We must deal with this, but in the framework of our emerging democracy. We cannot let ethnic or religious differences become an excuse to revert to authoritarianism. We are working to cultivate interfaith dialogues and increase understanding between communities. And I urge you to appreciate the complexity of this task and the patience needed to make it succeed. I suggest to you as well that you look beyond the headlines and appreciate that despite the recent violence, tens of millions of Myanmar people of all faiths and ethnic backgrounds live together peacefully as friends, schoolmates, neighbors, and co-workers. Go to Yangon and downtown, you will see Buddhist pagodas, but also Anglican and Roman Catholic cathedrals, other Christian churches, Sunni and Shiite mosques, a Jewish synagogue, Chinese and Hindu temples, and even an Armenian church. We have a long history of tolerance. We must build on this to celebrate our nation's special diversity as the strength, not the weakness. Distinguished guests, I said that the components of our transformations are mutually reinforcing. The United Nations tells us that without peace, there will be no development. And without development, there cannot be peace. And that without democracy, there can be neither. I will add that real progress toward democracy is also essential. I said as well that our transformation is unparalleled. I can think of no country that has attempted to move from authoritarianism to democracy and from a state-dominated and isolated economy to a free economy tied to global market, whilst at the same time trying to end a dozen different armed conflicts. We do this at a time of weak institution or institution that evolve in a very different environment and to serve very different purposes. We do this at a time when decades of self-imposed isolation and then sanctions, our people are unused to interaction with the outside world. In all areas, we are not working from a blank slate. There are the mentalities that have grown up over the decades of isolation and sanction need to be changed. And for every new dynamic that must be nurtured, a dozen of old dynamics have their inertia that must and will be overcome. Under such kinds of difficult challenges, one of the most important reasons and aims our government has with this reform process is to create a better future for our children. We will move ahead with our people-centered development agendas and lay necessary foundation for the government that will be democratically elected in coming 2015 elections. Distinguished guests, in 2014, Myanmar will undertake the chairmanship of ASEAN. This is a great responsibility, and it also signals Myanmar's eagerness to rejoin fully with the family of nations. We look forward not only to managing our own transformation, but becoming a responsible member of the international community, helping to do our share of regional and global peace and security and economic prosperity. And in this new phase of our history, as we look outward and seek to make new friends, we look to our old friends in the United Kingdom for encouragement, understanding, constructive criticism, and I hope a long-lasting friendship. I thank you all.